Well, it's difficult for me to say without hearing the preponderance of evidence placed against him. Clearly, if he is found to be guilty of using performance-enhancing drugs, then it should be commiserated with Ryan Braun, whether it be 65 games or in this case 100 games because they consider him a two-time offender because he lied or whatever the case would be. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'd have a problem with that. You use performance-enhancing drugs, they catch you. Their suspensions is 50 games to 100 games. I think Ryan Braun should have gotten 100 games. Timing is everything to me. Because what I want, particularly in the case of Ryan Braun, and I will be the first to admit that I draw a clear distinction between Ryan Braun and Alex Rodriguez. Do I believe Alex Rodriguez used performance-enhancing drugs? I believe most of those dudes have. So that's just not my belief based on, the culture that we're living in and the things that we've seen and the fact that he's already admitted using it. But the fact that Ryan Braun was allowed to sit up there and stick out his chest and act like he was the, paragon of virtue, and then to be the weasel and a wuss that he was, and gives us a little statement and walks away, doesn't get interviewed or interrogated by the press, leaving his teammates hanging, and then on top of it all, leave them behind to answer questions because he didn't have the courage to answer them, that is just as weak as it comes. A-Rod's in the minor leagues, there's been a camera in front of his face. A-Rod has been the subject of this investigation for quite a long time. So the level of scrutiny, I think, is different. But that doesn't mean he deserves less games. It just means that the level of vitriol should be different for him than it should be for Ryan. But with that being said, I am vehemently opposed to a lifetime ban. And the reason why I have been opposed to a lifetime ban is because, number one, it allows the New York Yankees, the team that I love, who have paid in excess of $2 billion in player salaries over the last decade, these dudes, and produce one World Series, they should not get out of signing a dude to a contract and then wiggling their way out of having to honor it, no matter what anybody says. And the reason that I feel that way is because, Skip, I am on the record saying that I believe Major League Baseball teams, not Major League Baseball, Major League Baseball teams were complicit in this whole steroids era by turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to it. And, Skip, in my mind, I have proof from our guy that we admire most, of Mr. Nightingale for USA Today. I would like, if you don't mind, to read this little graph to you. He's talking about Nelson Cruz. Listen to this graph. The what-ifs are many. If Cruz is suspended, will he appeal it, enabling the Rangers to carry on with a legitimate shot to make the postseason, or will he surrender, harming the Rangers' playoff hopes by protecting his free agency for prospective employers? The Rangers insist they don't know Cruz's plans if suspended, but their intentions certainly are clear. If Cruz goes down without a fight and accepts his penalty, why would they want a guy back who quit on the organization? So in other words, Mr. Nightingale, as respected a baseball mind as there is in this country, basically said that if Nelson Cruz is suspended, the Rangers would want him to appeal it just to fight it, to delay the suspension so they can go for the pennant. But if he were to just accept the penalty, okay, well then ultimately what that is doing is it's stripping you, it's ripping you away from the team, and you will be perceived as having quit on the team. That's what he said in that graph that I just read to you. With that reality in mind, is there any doubt that this whole steroids era, like I told you from day one, has Major League Baseball teams written all over it? And that is why I say when we talk about A-Rod's penalty, it should not be a lifetime ban. That's my position.
So what should it be?
It should be anywhere from 65 to 100 games based on what happened to Ryan Braun.
All right.
I believe that MLB will go for the throat of a lifetime ban. I believe they expect it to be arbitrated down to the rest of this season and all of next year. And I remind you, A-Rod just turned 38 years of age. He will turn 39 then during the potentially suspended next year. And we would go all the way into close to his 40-year-old year for him to come back if he chose to play. Some speculate that he would just say goodbye. That would be it, because he would have missed so much baseball that the prospect of coming back at almost 40, even for that kind of money, that he just wouldn't risk the humiliation of it. Now how that would play out contractually, could they settle it? Could they? I don't know. That's way over my head. But let's get back to Ryan Braun. And you say, well, what he did and what A-Rod did should be about the same in punishment. As you pointed out to start with, I don't know about the obstruction of justice evidence that they have on him.
Right.
If, in fact, he tried to witness tamper or buy off, I have no idea what he did. But by all accounts, they have something on him. If they can pin that something, if they can prove that in the baseball court, well, then this could be a lifetime ban. So I don't know that either. We're just speculating. But I'm going to remind you, Ryan Braun was shrewd enough, being the rat that he is, to plead out of his sentence. Remember, it wasn't commensurate. The punishment didn't even remotely fit the crime. Wasn't even close because he was the first domino. He ratted on all of them because he validated the guilt of Biogenesis and Tony Bosch by saying, yes, he gave me that. And baseball needed one rat to say, yes, he's guilty. He gave me drugs, because then all the other dominoes can fall. If they all tried to fight this, and A-Rod's people have told you from the start, what? We're going to tooth and nail fight this, right?
Yes.
So they're
a lifetime ban.
Well, they're going to fight all of it, I would think, as much as they can fight.
They may try to fight it, but I was told a lifetime ban is what they absolutely would fight, not necessarily a suspension.
Ryan Braun surrendered immediately. You got me? And guess what? I can actually, this season's lost. I've been hurt. I can go back to California and lay low until spring training.
Chill.
And then I can come back and start collecting what could be as much as $133 million that they owe me.
That's right.
And I'll be right back on schedule. In fact, thank you, baseball, for giving me a reprieve from this awful season that we're having as we've plunged into last place in Milwaukee.
And leaving Milwaukee to go and chill in your neck of the woods.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Come on. Are you kidding me? And as Nomar Garciaparra, Nomar said last night on ESPN, that it's almost as if baseball inadvertently is giving them incentive to cheat, because this is almost like just the cost of doing business. To get the big money deal with all that money left, well, you almost have to go ahead and risk getting caught because the penalty isn't stiff enough to really damage your career. This doesn't damage his career. Will it be a lifetime stain on his career? Yes. Sure. But will some people forgive and forget by next spring? Yeah, I'll bet they will.
Will he care at the expense of keeping the $133 million? Chances are no, he's not going to care. So that's why they're discussing implementing this in new collective bargaining negotiations or whatever it is that they're going to be negotiating in another year or two. But the point is that these players that have spoke out against Ryan Braun, all of these folks that are speaking out against Alex Rodriguez, I want to see if they're going to be supportive of implementing this with the league's new drug policy that you can go after player checks.
Okay, but I'm going to remind you, one last point. A-Rod has never had much PR savvy to him. He and his people could have stepped right up and preceded Ryan Braun and just said, hey, you got me. Go ahead. We will plead out of this. Will you just give us the rest of this year? Will you just...
Do you think they would have been that fair to A-Rod? I don't think they would have given him that choice.
But I bet they would have reduced his sentence greatly if he had just come completely clean from day one. You got me. I apologize. He could have done his
You know what? Which is why I keep forgetting that big nugget I keep throwing out there. That's why I keep bringing up the Yankees. Because if you're A-Rod and you believe that the Yankees are trying to work in, or the Major League Baseball is willing to work in concert with the New York Yankees, and the Yankees are hell-bent on getting you off their roster and off their books for the $114 million they owed you walking into this season, then capitulation and acquiescence is not something that you're going to submit to, because you're saying these dudes are going to use this as an excuse to take all my money away. So the choice that Ryan Braun had, Alex Rodriguez, a legitimate argument can be made.
They're not going to take Ryan Braun's money away.
I'm saying, but you didn't hear about the Milwaukee Brewers trying to do that. But you've heard about them trying to do that with A-Rod from day one, because even before Biogenesis came to light, the revelations, the Yankees felt like A-Rod was no longer worth the contract they signed him to, and that's why they were trying to get out from under it. He saw it, and he was like, I'm not going to do that. So we got to understand that too.
A-Rod's punishment, Stephen A. says 65 to 100 games, same as Ryan Braun. Skip thinks a lifetime ban might be in the works.